You don't hate your life. You just hate the role you've been playing. See, somewhere along the way, you became someone you never meant to be. Not evil, not dramatic, just off. So, what if the problem wasn't your discipline? What if it's your identity? You're exhausted. I know it. It's not because you're working hard, it's because you're pretending. See, most men aren't lost. They're just living under a name that was handed to them, and they never questioned it. And this is where you kind of enter this weird fog. See if this sounds familiar. You don't wake up one morning fake, you drift there. Identity, it doesn't usually form from some bold decision, it forms from adaptation, family expectations, culture, past failures, success labels, trauma, church roles, job titles, all these kind of things. You fall into these categories like the funny guy, the strong one, the screw up, the responsible one, the quiet one, and the spiritual one. At some point, you didn't choose who to become. You just adjusted, you adapted, you survived. You adapted to whatever was rewarded, and you adapted to whatever it was that avoided conflict. You adapted to what kept you safe. And over time, adaptation became your reality. You didn't mean to drift, but drift is very subtle. You take the promotion, you accept the label, you carry the responsibility, you swallow the resentment, you play the part. And one day you look up and you think, God, how did I get here? You don't wake up fake. Like I said, you drift there. And there's a lot of different false identities that men live in. Let's look at a few. So there's the provider mask. I am what I produce. And if I'm not earning, building, providing, I have no value. So your worth rises and falls with your performance. What about when you're tired? When you're tired, you can't stop because stopping feels like disappearing and it causes disappointment. Then there's the nice guy. I keep the peace so I don't lose approval. You smooth everything over. You don't say what you actually think. You don't confront and you don't lead. You just manage perception. But on the inside, there's resentment. Another one is the lone wolf. I don't need anyone because I handle everything. You pride yourself on your independence. You don't ask for help. You don't open up. But strength without connection becomes isolation. And isolation eventually becomes numbness. Here's another good one, the church role player. You know the language, you know the Christianese, you serve, you attend, you show up, you volunteer, but for some reason you don't feel alive. You perform spiritually, but you're not transformed. Then there's the underachiever. This is a good one. I've already failed, so why try? You tried once, maybe twice, it didn't work. So now you protect yourself with low expectations. You tell yourself you're chill, but you're actually afraid. Now here's the test. If your identity can be threatened, it's not solid. If losing the job destroys you, that wasn't just work, that was your identity. If disapproval crushes you, that wasn't just feedback, that was your identity being threatened. If being alone terrifies you, that wasn't just loneliness, that was your identity. So who are you when nobody's watching? And do you even like that guy? Here's a few ways that you can know if you're living a false identity. Let's make this uncomfortable, shall we? You might be living a false identity if you feel any of these. Chronic internal tension, like you're always bracing for something. Quiet resentment at your job, at people, at expectations that you never voiced. If you have secret envy, you scroll and you see things and you think, I could have been more. Emotional numbness. You're not devastated, you're just not excited. you're just flat. Overcompensation. Maybe it's in the gym, maybe it's money, maybe it's ego, maybe it's constant busyness. Maybe you feel behind, like life started without you. You avoid stillness. You see, that one matters, because if silence makes you uncomfortable, it might be because you're afraid of meeting yourself. See, when you slow down, you start hearing questions you don't want to answer. Is this really who I am? And that question is terrifying if you don't know the answer. You see, identity is a decision. And this is where we shift, okay? You don't find yourself. You decide who you stand as. Identity is not a personality test. It's not a mood. It's not your Enneagram. It's not your job description. It's the standard you refuse to fall below. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to the level of your identity. If you see yourself as inconsistent, you will be. If you see yourself as undisciplined, you will confirm that. If you see yourself as just average, you will subconsciously protect that ceiling. But when you decide, I am a disciplined man, I am a present husband, I am a father who leads, I am a man of faith, I am strong, I am honest, your behavior begins aligning with that decision. And this is the line. You don't ask who you've been. You decide who you are. And then you begin embodying that person. You begin acting like him, not emotionally, but practically. This is where fitness matters. This is where your health matters. This is where mindset and faith matter. Because identity is reinforced through action. You don't become him in a moment. You become him in reps by laying one brick after another consistently every day. So let's do a little identity audit. Now here's what I want you to do. Not mentally. I want you to do this on paper. Write this down, okay? Who have I been pretending to be? Be honest. The provider, the nice guy, the lone wolf, the church role player, the underachiever. Next, what am I afraid would happen if I stopped being that person? Would people be disappointed? Would I lose approval or status? Would I have to face failure again? Next is, who do I actually want to become? Not what sounds good, not what's going to get applause, but what man would you respect? And last, what would that man do this week? Not next year, this week. Would he wake up earlier? Would he train? Would he tell the truth? Would he apologize? Would he pray? Would he lead that hard conversation? Look, man, don't wait for confidence, okay? You got to start acting like him and embodying him. Confidence follows your alignment, okay? When you're aligned, you're going to be more confident. Look, you don't need a new life. You don't need a new identity. You don't need a different city or a different job or different friends or any of that stuff. You just need to stop living under a name that isn't yours. You can't cross the line as someone you're not willing to leave behind. The fog is only going to stay thick when you refuse to question it. So question it. Who are you really? And if that answer unsettles you, good. That means you're finally awake. And I will see you at the line.